move for Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, quietly sent to a lower security prison days after speaking with the President's Justice Department. The question, still unanswered tonight, is why? I'm Caitlin Collins, and this is The Source. With an intriguing development concerning the status of Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. After starting the week at the low-security prison in Florida where she's been serving her 20-year sentence, she's ending it at a minimum security prison in Texas. This comes just a week after she met privately with the number 2 at the Justice Department, the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, for about 9 hours over the course of 2 days. We still don't know what exactly was revealed, if anything new, during those meetings, but this comes as, according to the Bureau of Prisons regulations, inmates who are designated as sex offenders, as Ghislaine Maxwell is, usually aren't eligible for the kind of upgrade that she just got. Yes, it is prison, but there is a difference here, and you can see when it comes to what these prisons are like and what the facilities are, and also what the restrictions are like. Ghislaine Maxwell now has more freedom of movement, limited security fencing, and is now being housed with non-violent inmates. Her new dorm mates, for example, include the famed Notorious founder Elizabeth Holmes and also the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City star Jen Shaw. Each of them are serving time for fraud at the new facility where you're going to see Maxwell now fulfilling her sentence. And it's a move that blindsided the family of Virginia Roberts Giuffre, whom the president says Jeffrey Epstein, quote, stole from Mar-a-Lago when she was working there as a spa attendant as a teenage girl back in the year 2000, when she was first approached by Ghislaine Maxwell.
And we were very shocked and very surprised that they were giving her a voice and giving her a platform to essentially possibly make a deal. And I want to make it clear that, she does not get the opportunity to get out. She deserves to rot in prison where she belongs because of what she's done to my sister and so many other women.
People who commit those crimes against someone deserve to feel those repercussions. They don't get to rest easy while these survivors are still trying to live their life every single day. You don't get to rest easy.
That was from our interview last night, before we learned about this move. And this move is raising new questions tonight, including why Maxwell was moved, who ordered the move, and whether or not someone pushed through a waiver so she would become eligible. The Roberts family, and also 2 other Epstein and Maxwell accusers, sent us this statement shortly after learning about Maxwell being moved today, and I want to read from it now. They said, quote, "It is with horror and outrage that we object to the preferential treatment that convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell has received. The American public should be enraged by the preferential treatment being given to a pedophile and a criminally charged child sex offender. The Trump administration should not credit a word that Maxwell says, as the government itself sought charges against Maxwell for being a serial liar. This move smacks of a cover-up. The victims deserve better." Virginia Roberts Giuffre died by suicide earlier this year. In the years before her death, she said that Maxwell was not an innocent bystander or just a facilitator.
She led me up the staircase and we made a right into Jeffrey's room, and Jeffrey laying naked on the massage table. Jeffrey lifts his head up, looks at Ghislaine. Ghislaine looks at him, and I call it the Cheshire cat grin because his face just went like this, and it was like a nod of approval. They said, "Take off your clothes." I had these little girl undies on, like little hearts on them, I remember, and they were laughing at that because they like that. The younger you look, the better it is. It turned very sexual, and it was abuse straight away from both of them.
Tough to hear those words from the late Virginia Giuffre here, and of course this raises new questions tonight about this move, and clearly her family has answers. My sources to start us off: CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Honig, Reuters White House correspondent Jeff Mason, and also a prison consultant who has deep knowledge of the facility that Maxwell has been transferred to, Sam Mangle. And Sam, it's great to have you back here. We've talked to you about moments like this before, when people go to prison, what they should experience. Can you just tell us tonight, for people who maybe aren't familiar with where she was serving in Florida and where this new place in Texas is, what are the biggest differences that Ghislaine Maxwell is experiencing now?
Sure, thanks for having me back, Caitlin. Tallahassee is a low security female facility. It's a jail you would see on television. It has bars, it has controlled movement where inmates can only move 10 minutes on every hour. Definitely more restrictions. It also has violent offenders. You'll have gang members there. You'll have people that committed, heinous crimes and have finally made their way down through the federal system to where they have 20 years or less on their sentences. There is no question it is a much more difficult place to be for anyone, for any offender. And certainly given her charges and the length of her sentence, it made sense that she was designated to Tallahassee. Where she is now at Bryan is a minimum security camp. There are no cells. There are no guard towers. The inmates, and I did speak to a client there today who said she hadn't seen Ms. Maxwell yet, but they have pods. So there's maybe 2 or 3 girls in a pod. Women are allowed outside from 6 in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. There is no controlled movement. There's much more in terms of activities to do. I understand there's even a yoga course that's taught there. So it is a diametrically different situation from where she came. I understand why they might have transferred her. There's probably, anybody that's cooperating for the government might have a target on their back, and it made sense to move her. Why she was moved to a camp, I don't know, and that is a very difficult move to accomplish under any circumstances.
Why is it difficult? What do you mean?
Somebody like Ms. Maxwell, from my understanding, had at least 2 management variables associated with her case. So management variable is a policy the Bureau of Prisons has that said that if you have a sentence greater than 10 years, you can't go to a camp. If you have greater than 20 years, you might have to go to a medium level security. If you have a charge of violence or any sexual offense, you're not typically eligible for a minimum security camp. The fact that she had at least 2 of these variables waived, one, that she had more than 10 years remaining on her sentence, and certainly the charge itself is very, very atypical. I've had clients with 1 or both of those charges, and getting a management variable waived for anyone within the Bureau of Prisons is next to impossible. To have 2 management variables waived, highly unusual.
Well, and Ellie, when you look at this, I mean, a week ago we were talking about her meetings with Todd Blanche. We don't have a direct connection yet. We don't know. No one has told us why she was moved or how this happened. But does the timing strike you as suspect?
If this was just a random, normal prisoner transfer, then it is a heck of a coincidence, and I'm not buying that. Every indication is that this was done intentionally and with a purpose. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. First of all, Bureau of Prisons is within DOJ, under Pam Bondi, under Todd Blanche's command and control. Second of all, as the prison expert just pointed out, somebody at DOJ has to waive this because she is a sex offender, because she was doing 20 years. Ordinarily, she would not be eligible to go to the minimum security or farm, as we sometimes call them, or a camp. So somebody had to say, yes, that's okay. How can we ignore this? Todd Blanche goes in there, speaks with her last week. By all indications, seems to have been satisfied. This is a benefit. This is a serious benefit. There's 140,000 federal inmates. Every single one of them would be desperate to get to a lower security facility for exactly these reasons. And so what it looks like is they're rewarding her. What it tells me is Todd Blanche is satisfied with what he heard from her, that there's something in her testimony that he likes and that he believes.
Well, and we still don't know what that was. I do think you have a good point, because Todd Blanche went back for a second day of talks, which I thought actually said a lot, that he felt that he should return. We don't know what happened. Jeff, the president was actually asked about this tonight. Is that information going to become public? And this is what he had to say.
Well, I don't know, because I haven't spoken about it, but he's a very talented guy, Todd Blanche, and a very straight shooter.
Yeah.
And I think he probably wanted to know, just to get a feeling of it, because we'd like to release everything, but we don't want people to get hurt that shouldn't be hurt.
I wonder what that says to you.
Well, number one, when he says we'd like to release everything, they've had an opportunity to release everything and they haven't taken it. And that's what's created the hubbub and the ruckus that has been dominating the news cycle for the last couple of weeks. Number two, the president is frustrated that the story is staying and getting the same kind of headlines that it keeps getting. I wrote a piece a week or so ago about the fact that as a public official, he's had superpowers of being able to get people to look elsewhere or divert. And that hasn't worked with this case. Well, it certainly doesn't help when his administration allows a move like this for the prime person who's left with ties to this crime. So until we know the reasoning for her move, it just keeps the story going.
Yeah, we don't really know what they get out of this, but we know what she could get out of it. We talked about a pardon or reduction in sentence, but Ellie, I mean, is there a world where this is what that they could have gotten, at least for now, from the DOJ?
Yeah, so this to me is the big question. Like, is this the only benefit? Assuming it's a benefit, and I believe all the facts indicate it is this it? Is this her reward? Is that she's going to get moved to a lower security
Is there any
prison?
worlds where she was moved because of all the scrutiny and intense focus on her for her own safety, or is that, I mean, to the target point that Sam made?
I mean, it could be, yeah, I mean, that could be a reason, right? And also to protect her if she's now seen as a cooperator, that could be. But whatever the intention is, this is a major reward for her. And now what I want to see is that it? Or there's two ways she can really get out of her sentence earlier. Absent any relief, she's going to be in prison another 13 years. She's 63 years old. Right now, that means she's going to be in prison until she's 76. And so, A, will she get a pardon or commutation, as we've seen all week? Trump has not put that to bed. But B, and watch for this, DOJ has the power to go to a judge and write what we call a Rule 35 letter, which says to the judge, she cooperated productively after her sentencing, so we ask you to re-sentence her to lower. I did it a couple times. It happens. It's a little bit unusual, but that's going to be the big decision that Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche need to be asked. Are you considering making that motion to a judge?
I would also add that your point about him keeping the pardon possibility alive is spot on, because he keeps saying, I haven't been asked about it. He's not saying no. That's telling.
Because the president, you know, as two people who've covered him extensively,
Yes.
he chooses his words carefully on stuff like that and doesn't want to put himself in a box when he thinks he might exercise that position.
100%. He is leaving himself plenty of wiggle room there if he chooses to pardon her.
Yeah. Jeff Mason, Ellie Honig, Sam Mingle, great to have you back as well. It was so helpful.